From the Black Card Book Studio, this is the Multiply Your Business Podcast, episode number 2.
Welcome to the Multiply Your Business Podcast, where we bring you inspiring interviews with top entrepreneurs on how they generated more leads, closed more sales, made more money, developed the mindset they needed to be successful, and how they built the business and lifestyle they always dreamed of. We'll teach you how to do this too. Broadcasting from the Black Card Book Studio, here is your host, Scott Morrison.
Hey there, welcome in again to another episode of the Multiply Your Business Podcast. Wherever you may be in the world, thanks so much for making us a part of your day. I really appreciate you being here. Really excited for today's interview on this episode of the podcast. As a team at Black Card Books, when we sat down and started talking about building a podcast, we tossed around a bunch of ideas as far as the topic and the themes and the name of it and what we want to do, and really spent some time thinking through this. And ultimately, we decided on the title and the name of the podcast being the Multiply Your Business Podcast. Now, this is from a book written by Gerry Robert called Multiply Your Business. It is the 10 new marketing realities to catapult your income. Gerry wrote this a few years back. It's an incredible book. We're giving it away for free on the website, MYBpodcast.com. They'll have a section so you can get a free copy of the book. And by the way, that's a physical book we're going to mail to you, not just an ebook that you download. So anyways, as we get started here in the first few episodes of the podcast, it's only fitting that we bring Gerry on. Gerry is the founder of Black Card Books, but bigger than that, more than that, he's just an incredible human being. He travels the world, and we talk about this a little bit, and literally every corner of the world, I swear, he's been to. And what he does is he speaks. So he's been on stage in front of millions and millions of people. He's regularly speaking with guys like Tony Robbins or Richard Branson, the real household names, the who's of people in the business world. And has a really incredible story from going from a life of poverty to a life of earning multiple millions a year. And even more than that, past the money side of it, he's just a happy person. He has figured out how to win and succeed at life in every category. And he's just an incredible human being to be around. So in this, what we're going to talk about in the podcast, we're going to talk a little bit about his history, how he got from where he was to where he is today, how you can do some of the same things. We talk a lot about mindset and personal development and how important that was to him. We give you some very specific tactics you can do as well. One of my favorite exercises in the world called Captain and Crew, and Gerry explains how that works. Talk a bit about the book Multiply Your Business, but talk a lot about just business in general and how hard it is to sell today and to stand out and to make a difference, and really just a lot of the struggles that are happening in the business world today, whether you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, some sort of business professional like a doctor, an attorney, a chiropractor, a dentist, something like that. Maybe you're a sales rep. Maybe you're just trying to figure out what you want to do in business. It's tough. And Gerry has a surefire way for you to really get ahead of the competition, to make sure that your message speaks louder than everyone else's and allows you to really create the life and the business that you want. So we talk a lot about that with Gerry, give you some free resources as well. This will all be linked up in the show notes. So spend some time listening to this whole interview. I recommend having a pen and paper out as well, or your computer out so you can take some notes. There's some specific action items and things that you're going to want to do from there. So with that, really excited to have you hear this interview with Mr. Gerry Robert. All right, everyone, welcome again to the Multiply Your Business Podcast. We are joined today by a very special guest, Mr. Gerry Robert. Gerry, how are you doing today?
I am awesome. Glad to be here, Scott. I love working with you, man.
Well, thank you. We're thrilled to have you. I know you are a road warrior. You can be really any corner of the world. Did we find you at home, or where are you today?
I am home today. I have about a week ago, returned from a 20-city, 2-month tour.
Oh, man.
I'm leaving next week for a month. On Tuesday, I go to, and it's funny because what was a long trip before for lots of people, for myself and for lots of other people, like I'm going to Denver. No, I'm going to England. I live in Toronto, so I'm going to London, England.
Uh-huh.
I fly to Denver, I turn around and get on another plane, go right back to England to do a Tony Robbins event there at the end of the month. And then I go from there to Sweden, and then I go to Manila, and then we're stopping off in Singapore on the way home. So I do travel a lot, but I'm glad to be home today, and I'm glad to spend some time with you today too.
I'm sure it feels great. I would imagine, I would wonder how many miles you've flown in your life. Someday it'll be interesting to try to tally that up. So tell me a little bit. Yeah.
You just look at the pile of bills for suitcase.
Exactly. I remember as a kid, my dad got a letter from United Airlines once congratulating him on 1 million miles flown. I imagine you're well past that. So thank you for being out there and sharing your message for as many years as you had. You do incredible work and an incredible speaker.
Thank you so much.
Tell us a bit how did you get to this point? So many people, they look at being a professional speaker and that's what they want to do. How did you get to that point where you are doing that today on a full-time basis?
Well, I started off in the ministry, so I was a pastor for a few years, and then I wrote my first book. Somebody asked me if I could give a non-religious talk to their company, and I did so, and it went really well. And they gave me $1,500 for an hour speech, and that's how much I used to make as a minister for a whole month. 30 years ago. Well, I got a new calling just like that.
Amazing how that works.
And I just found that I was really good at that, and I really love the power to influence people. It's partly because of my life turned around in a seminar, and it was at the feet of somebody else teaching, where I recognized that I could have more, I could do more, I could be more. And it was a fire that was lit within me inside a seminar room. And so now there is a real sense of purpose and passion to try and wake people up, because I think so many people accept such meager life that when I'm in front of them and I share my story of how I went from poverty to earning, tens of millions a year in speaking and companies that I own, it inspires people. I don't say it to brag. I tell it because, I got kicked out of school when I was 15. We grew up on welfare. Everybody in my family, Scott, everybody, all my uncles, my cousins, my brother, my dad, they were either drug addicts, alcoholics, or criminals. And that's where I was heading. That's where I was supposed to go. And it was at the feet of a mentor that I woke up, and I decided, because I knew that I was destined for more than the struggle and tough life that I was setting myself on up for. And I just find that traveling the world speaking is such a great thing. And some of us have been to the war and back, and I think the world needs to hear our message. So it's a privilege to do it, I'll tell you. It's not without its fair share of challenges, and the seminar business looks easy, but it's very, very tough. But overall, I do it all again, that's for sure.
Sure. Do you remember, what was the message? What was the thing that woke you up at that seminar years back?
Yeah, the mentor called me a jerk.
Oh, really?
So he asked me how much I was making, and I told him I was making $100,000 a year, which I thought was pretty good, because no one in my family was making that kind of money. None of my friends were making that kind of money. So to make $100,000 in your 20s, I thought was pretty good, until he made two statements. The first statement was, well, $100,000 is garbage. And he said, it's garbage for you to make that much in a year if you could make that much in a month. Well, a month, come on. I almost thought the guy was nuts. And so when somebody shares an idea with me, when somebody shared an idea back then with me that seemed absurd, I wouldn't let it go. And so I started to fight with him. I started to give him every reason in the world why I could never earn $100,000 in a month. I told him that I was young. I thought you had to be older. I told him that I was broke, even though I was bringing in 100. It was costing me 125 to get it. I told him that I didn't feel particularly smart because I grew up. I got kicked out of school when I was 15. I told him that I come from poverty, and my parents couldn't even provide the basics of life, like food and shelter, without government assistance. We were on welfare, and so my father was an alcoholic who died of and my brother, both of them died from booze and drugs, 7 months apart. So as I'm saying all these things about every reason in the world why I could never earn $100,000 in a month, he called me a jerk. Well, that just like friggin' what? And he said he didn't mean to be disrespectful, but anybody who would summarily dismiss an idea without really thinking about it, grappling with it, like really messing, like, he said, and that person isn't thinking. And he said, my job in life is to help people think, and you're not thinking. So I'm going to try and wake you up. And well, he woke me up already. And I realized that, he had something that I wanted, because he had been making that kind of money and more for over 25 years. He told me that his story was every bit as sad as mine, but that he knew that I could do it. And I'm not even entertaining the idea, And so he said, I had to get your attention. Well, he got my attention. I realized that he believed in me more than I believed in myself. So for a while, Scott, I believed in his belief in me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't believe I could ever earn $100,000 in a month, but I sure knew he believed I could do it. And so I just shut up and I started doing what he said. And if he told me to read a chapter in a book 3 times, I'd read it 30 times. If he told me to move out of my comfort zone, man, I moved out of my comfort zone. I started investing in myself. I started spending money on my own personal development. I pushed myself beyond what most people ever have the guts to do. And my income went from $100,000 a year to $100,000 a month. My income, this was 30 years ago, 27 years ago, shot up over $1 million a year. And you know how people say money won't make you happy? That's not true. I'm very happy.
I'm sure.
Now it's not uncommon for me to bring in over $1 million in a weekend. I've done it, 7 or 8 times already this year. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying it because I'm still the same guy who got kicked out of school when I was 15, grew up in poverty, started with nothing. And if I could do it, don't tell me other people can't do it, because they can. Now the thing is, you got to get a mentor, and you got to be willing to move out of your comfort zone, man. And I think that's most people just give mental assent to change. Like, I friggin' worked like crazy on me, because I realized that if I was ever going to change, I had to do what wealthy people do, and that's not easy, because most people just give mental assent to change. I frickin' changed, and I changed everything. My friends, my habits, my reading, my TV watching, my decision-making ability, my investing, my everything. I changed everything, and I wanted the results, because if it was possible, and I'm not saying money's the be-all and end-all, because frankly, if you knew me, you'd realize that money's not that important to me at all. But change is, and growth is, and influence is. And I was just willing to do whatever it takes. And most people aren't. They'll say they are. And I get people, Scott, who actually pay me money to coach them. And I'm one of the top 20 paid, the top 20 highest grossing speakers and coaches on the planet. And people pay me an incredible amount of money, and they don't do what I ask them. It's amazing to me.
Why is that? Why do you think the people stop by doing? Here you are, somebody incredibly successful. Why wouldn't they do it?
I think that we've fallen into the idea, and it's because of our education system that teaches us that we know something if we can remember it, write it, and repeat it. And my mentor told me that you don't know anything until you have a permanent change in your behavior. Mm-hmm. See, we grew up in school and we're tested, and people tell us we know something if we can pass the test, remember what the teacher said. You don't know something by what you can remember about what somebody taught you. You know something if you do something. And I think people got to remember that it's not by listening to rich people that you become rich. It's by doing what they do. Well, the first thing I did, I invested in myself. I changed my friends. I changed my TV habits. I you heard I heard this thing the other day. Wealthy people have big libraries, but broke people have big TVs.
I like that. It's very true.
I changed everything, and I stopped listening to stupid, negative knuckleheads in my life, and I started to listen to people who had results. So often people will ask some bonehead next to them what they think about a strategy or an idea. And well, why would you ever listen to some bonehead sitting beside you who doesn't have a result that you want? And yet people are often influenced by other people who don't know a damn thing about what they're talking about. So I just got some mentors. I did exactly what they told me. And I worked hard on me, because at the end of the day, if you're going to change your results and you want a better business, you want to make more money, you want to feel better, you want to be freer in life and be happier and have more influence and all those things, you've got to fix you. The answer is in the mirror, man.
Absolutely. Talk, if you could, one of the exercises I love from you that you teach is captain and crew, and it ties absolutely in what we're talking about here about mindset. Could you share that and talk, educate people how they could do that and some of the differences it might make in their lives?
Well, in a real nutshell, we're made up of three parts, right? So we have a conscious mind, we have a subconscious mind, and we have a body. And that body moves into action based on what we think about, what we are conditioned to do. Our body moves into action, and those actions produce a certain result. Well, the conscious mind is where you entertain thought. You create ideas and concepts. That then is turned over to your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is somehow connected to the entire universe, and it has a way of attracting whatever you think about and you feel. You see, your conscious mind is also known as your emotional mind, where your habits reside, your feelings, your programming is all in that bottom part, your subconscious mind. And so I view my mind as a circle. Top half of the circle is the conscious mind. The bottom half of the circle is the subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind is somehow connected to everything that is. It's connected to God, to universe, source. I don't care what you call it, but we all pretty much agree with the adage that says, as a person thinks, that's in your conscious mind, as a person thinks in their heart, that's part of your subconscious mind, as a person thinks in their heart, so are they. That's the physical level. Well, the smallest part of you is your physical level. And somehow the subconscious mind is connected to everything in the entire world. And, the whole message from the movie The Secret and other teachings throughout history is that what you think about, you bring about. Mm-hmm. Well, I view the conscious mind as a captain, and I view the subconscious mind as a crew. The job of the crew is to do everything the captain says. And so if the captain, your conscious mind, if I entertain thoughts like, it's now October, I get the flu every November, I better get ready. So if you say to yourself over and over again, I always get the flu in November, I always get the flu in November, I get the flu in November, that's dropped automatically into your subconscious mind, which has no ability to reject. So that subconscious mind I view as the crew. Well, the crew, its function is to do everything the captain says. So if the captain says, hey, every November I get the flu, the crew, its function is to make that happen. It interprets. This is the key phrase of the whole friggin' podcast, as far as I'm concerned. This next phrase. Everything that the captain says is interpreted as a command by your crew. So that means that when you say inside your conscious mind, I get the flu every November, what the crew hears is, make him get the flu because it's almost November.
So the crew has no choice but to follow the orders.
It just takes the orders. And the problem is, it's more powerful than most people know. I don't know how it all works, Scott, but I do know this, that somehow you and me and I and our subconscious mind's connected to everything in the universe, and it sends out some sort of a vibration, an idea, a cosmic wave. You call it what the frig, I don't care what you call it, but it just has this uncanny ability to attract into your life what you think about the most, because it has a one-word vocabulary, the crew. That word is yes. Right. And then somehow you become a magnet to every stupid virus that's around, and guess what happens almost on order, automatically, to the day, start of November. you attract every virus that'll give you the flu. It's just weird how it all works. But that's the same. People are using that right now anyway. They're using that for their income. If somebody's making $86,000 a year, it's because they're saying to themselves over and over and over again, I'm worth $86,000. So the crew hears that, make her earn $86,000. Well, its job, the crew, is to go and help you figure out ways to earn $86,000. So it'll attract into you ideas and concepts for you to earn what you're programmed to earn. And if you start earning too much, that is, if by June 1st you've already earned $92,000 and you're programmed to earn 86, you're going to mess it up. You'll stop people. I see it. You see it all the time, Scott, too, because you've spent so much time working with small business owners. You've seen people stop working.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just stop. They get fat, dumb, and happy because they're making more money than they are programmed, and they screw it up. They self-sabotage. They go to the beach. So the thing that we don't understand, that most people don't understand, is you can reprogram that crew. How I do it is by using a little technique that I do every day. I start off every day by writing out my heart's desire list. That is, I write down everything that I want in my life, my income, my attitude, my mindset, my state. I talk about my relationships. I talk about my business. I talk about my marriage. I write it down on a fresh piece of paper every single day because I want to reprogram the crew, not towards what my father had instilled in me. And my father loved me, but he really wasn't equipped to talk to me about earning $1 million in a year or a weekend, for that matter.
Sure.
So I reprogram that. I even got the actual address of my dream home, Scott, like the actual address. Like I picked out the house. Now the people who live there currently don't know. I'm coming to get that house. So it's a powerful tool. Probably one of the most powerful secret weapons I have that I use every day. And I do this, I recommend people do it for 90 days and then do it once or twice a year consecutively for 90 days. And so once or twice in a year, I'll go through one of those 90-day commitments. And if I miss a day, I start over again. And at least once or twice a year, I will go through the exercise of doing it consecutively for 90 days to reprogram my conscious mind, my subconscious mind.
So to recap kind of how it works, blank piece of paper every day, write out your heart's desire, kind of give a sense like what should they be writing? A couple bullet points, what should they be putting on this piece of paper?
A small sentence. So I'll just read some of the ones that are on my list today. So I'm calm, happy, and balanced. I'm calm, happy, and balanced. So just writing down the words calm calms me down. I write down my marriage is a 10. 10 out of 10, Scott, not 10 out of 100.
10 out of 100.
I write down that I selflessly serve Anne, my wife, with joy. Because it's not natural for me to serve anybody.
Right.
And so I want to remind myself. And so what the captain says is, I want to selflessly serve my wife. The crew interprets that as a command, an order. Make him selflessly serve Anne with joy. So it throws into my consciousness ideas on how I might do that over and over again. I write down that I have an expensive wardrobe. I write down that my kids and I are very close. I write down that I have X number of millions coming in. I write down as I mentioned, my actual address of my dream home. And so these are things I write down that our staff are happy. And, we currently have 115 people on our payroll, and that we have a sense of family, and that our customers are winning big and love us. Well, you're not going to find a company that has more of a family sense than Black Card Books. I mean, we are committed to being a family, and we help each other, and we sort each other out, and we're committed to the long term. And well, that doesn't happen by accident. I think the crew goes and attracts the right kind of people to work with us. It attracts the right type of ideas for us to generate the kind of revenue we want, and profit percentage we want. it's almost like magic. And I do this every single day. It's just, to me, it's such a blessing to write down the things that you want, and it gets you in a proper frame of mind. You know, the problem though, Scott, is that I found, and you know, I've taught over 3 million people now live in seminars, is that people are afraid to write things down for 2 reasons. One is they're afraid that somebody will see it and they'll be embarrassed. So don't show it to them.
Right.
The other thing is they don't know how they're going to get it, so they don't write it. Right. So if somebody says, you know, I want to earn $1 million in a year doing speaking or seminars, but they don't know how to get there. So they don't write it, because my mentor said, that's not your job to figure out the how. That's God's job. Your job is just to figure out, to hold the picture of what it is you want. But people don't even allow themselves the luxury of dreaming, because they're so focused on how to get it. The other thing is people don't want to write big things down on a piece of paper because they've never done it. Well, geez, if you've done it, you would already have it. So my thing is, I would write things down. Most people aim so low, Scott. They need to aim higher. Most people should add a 0 to most of their goals. And so just because you've never done it, or somebody else may make fun of you if you showed it to them, or if you don't know how, is no reason to not dream big and just get yourself emotionally involved to what it's like. I mean, we were just the other day we were shopping around for a private jet, and so we were out at the airport, you know, looking at 3 different private jets. I have a goal to have my own private jet, and is it way outside of the current situation, or I mean, it's a lot of money, man, and I haven't got a clue how it's all going to happen, but I'm still dreaming it. I don't care if I don't know how I'm going to get it. I don't care if it seems exorbitant to my broke friends or people at my church. I don't care if someone's going to laugh at me. I just know what it's like. The other day is sitting in that Cessna Citation plane with leather seats and polished teak furnishings, and seeing the, you know, I mean, just sitting in this thing, Scott, and we did it with our, you know, some of our executive team here in Toronto at the airport, and it was just like phenomenal. Yeah. So don't let other people or the fact that you've never done it, or it seems absurd. Listen, when he told me I could make in a month what I used to make in a year, that seemed absurd. People say to me, this sounds like a get-rich thing. Well, shit, if you can get rich fast, why go slow?
It is a get-rich thing. That's the point. But it's not a scheme. It's not a gimmick. I get that. It's interesting, some of these fears you mentioned while doing Captain and Crew. As of today is when we're recording this, I'm on day 29 of Captain and Crew. And awesome. When I started it, those exact fears you just mentioned were the first ones that came to me. I kept my I kept my paper very private from even my wife, who's my best friend and I share everything with. And I had that emotion I went through, and then I thought after a second or two, I was like, this is silly. She's a part of this. I want her to be a part of my goals. And so I shared it with her, and now she's doing the same thing. And I realized I was thinking too small at first, so they've gotten bigger. And here's at least the most exciting part of it for me. Yes, I feel great every day as I do it. Yes, it gives me a sense of purpose and a drive, and I truly enjoy the few minutes of sitting and writing it down. But already I'm seeing ideas and clients and opportunities coming to me that I wasn't dreaming of a month ago. They weren't even on my radar. And now as they are, I see these are the ways that the goals and the things I'm writing down will come true. So a heartfelt thank you from me on teaching me this and explaining it to me. And for the listeners as well, we will have a link in the show notes of exactly how to do Captain and Crew, how you can do the same. I highly encourage you, take Gerry's challenge of doing it for 90 days straight. And then we'd love to hear from you on what happens and some of the results you're getting. So Gerry, thanks for sharing all that with us about Captain and Crew. I think this is an excellent exercise for everyone to be doing.
It's a powerful tool, I'll tell you that. I've never seen anything. It just changed my life, and it can make a big difference in people's lives, that's for sure. I
agree. So let's tie mindset into business a little bit. I want to talk about Black Card Books. I want to talk about the book Multiply Your Business, what the podcast is named after, and we'll get into that a little bit. But I guess to transition a little bit, you've talked a ton about mindset and so forth. how did mindset help you, what role has mindset played to get you to build this company? How has it helped you establish where you are today? And then as you answer that, if you could share a little bit about Black Card Books and what the company is all about and what you're doing.
Well, so our company is in response to the changes that have occurred in the mindset of consumers in the past, say, 10, 15 years. Mm-hmm. Our idea is that it's not easy today to sell anything. And what Black Card Books does, and if people don't know, I mean, essentially, we're the fastest growing book publisher on the planet, which is interesting, given that the state of book publishing in the world is on a major decline. We are the fastest growing book publisher on the planet based on title acquisition. So we're an entrepreneurial publisher. And what that means is we're not so focused on selling books. We're focused on using books as a marketing tool, using books as a way to grow a business, as a way to grow income, and to mitigate against the major challenges that entrepreneurs face today, given the state of the world in which we live in. It has never, ever been as tough as it is today for those of us who are in business to try and sell products, given the state that consumers are in today in regards to how they think about those of us who sell products. They're much more focused on themselves and their problems than ever before, and there's a lot of challenges. And I'll be happy to illustrate this more. But there's a number of challenges that entrepreneurs face today that it's never been this bad, never been this tough, and you need a tool today that's going to get you to break through the noise and be heard. And that's what Black Card Books does. I mean, yes, we're a book publishing company. Yes, we have, we're one of the biggest book publishers. We have a full-time staff. We provide an incredible service. But the reality is we are a tool to help people mitigate against the realities of the marketplace today. And it's never been as tough as it is today. That's for sure.
Let's unpack that a little bit. First off, why is it so tough? What has shifted? Why, I'm sure a lot of the listeners, they're feeling that they have a product or service, maybe they're consultants, whatever it is they're doing, and it's hard to sell sometimes. It's hard to get customers coming to them. Why? What's happening that makes it harder?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons. One is, let's talk about what the problem is. The problem is this. In this day and age, people don't trust any of us who sell anything. They don't want to be sold. They are bombarded with marketing messages. They are not loyal. They are much more informed. They have access to much more information. They are swamped. And just to give you an example, Scott, in my seminars, I'll often go to the front row and I'll get right up into people's faces and I'll go through and I'll say, I'll start in the row and I'll go to each person and I'll say, do you want to buy my product? 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 Do you want to buy my product?
I'm sure they love that.
That's irritating as hell. Well, that's what your message sounds like to people today. It's obnoxious. People hate it. And so lots of marketers think that all you got to do is turn up the volume. So they say more and more things louder, and they say more and more things related to how great they are and how they're the best and they're the greatest, and they wave this big flag. People don't believe you anymore. They don't trust you. They're overwhelmed. They have way too many choices. Like, just think about this for instance, Scott. And I asked your listeners this question. How many people today, when they're watching television, within arm's length, have a cell phone, a tablet, or a computer within arm's length of watching TV?
Oh, absolutely.
Because we don't like to be sold today. So if that's the truth, not even to account for the fact that there's a lot of competition today, and many people are in industries that are commodities where they sell the exact same thing as somebody else. What is the proposal that most people have to mitigate against this unbelievably difficult, suspicious, distrusting mindset that consumers have towards those of us who sell anything today?
Yeah.
And I'm saying that the number one tool to do that in this day and age is for people to write a book. Because if you write a book, you're no longer perceived as a salesperson.
What do you perceive at then? How does that change things for you?
Just think about it. You got two chiropractors. One could have 20 years experience, and one could be brand new. If the person with 20 years experience is bragging that they've been in business for 20 years, and the other person could be 6 months in the business, but is an author of a book, there's no question in this day and age that the person who's an author is going to be perceived as more credible than the other person. And so if you add to that, in the way we do entrepreneurial book publishing, and remember, my recommendation is not to push book sales at all. In fact, it's a little odd for a book publisher like me to talk about not pushing book sales. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to try and make $10 selling a book when you can make 10,000 if you're a real estate agent or a financial planner or a doctor or a dentist or a consultant or a speaker? Why would you try and sell a book when you can use that book, give the book away, and use that book to generate a lead, to change somebody's perception about who you are, to differentiate you from everybody else in the marketplace? See, to me, that's where the money is. And so when we talk about book publishing all the time, people often think that I'm talking about trying to get in bookstores and selling books and stop doing what you're doing. No, it's the exact opposite. Use a book to be able to do more of those things that you want, more of the business that you're in. And that's my recommendation, is that you use a book to do that, not to sell books. I mean, that's dumb in my mind.
So you're saying your book essentially, it's your business card and your brochure and your sales proposition kind of all tied into one neat little package, right?
Yeah. There's no question that a book is by far the best. It's like a brochure on steroids, and it's easy to get. Now, you got to change your mindset, because most people who are listening to this have thought about writing a book. I can almost guarantee it. Yeah. The problem is they haven't done it. And so the question is, why haven't they done it? And it has to do with some elements that we've found over the years in our research that stop people. And that primarily has to do with the concept that they have in their head about what this book needs to be. They think it has to be a world-class, earth-shattering, industry-revolutionizing, total masterpiece, work of art. And most people know that that's difficult and near impossible, so they don't even try. And so my recommendation is that you let go of that, write an 80 to 100-page book, 8 to 10 chapters, 8 to 10 pages each. That's all you need. It doesn't have to be the best book in the whole subject, but just let go of that idea. Write a book like that, publish it themselves, or have us publish it, better still, and use it as a marketing tool. That's my recommendation. So
I'm hearing all that, and I agree with it, but I'm still thinking, if I'm a business owner and I have a million things going on, 80 to 100 pages seems overwhelming. I don't know what to write about. I don't know what people want. I don't know how to do this. You've done this. Your customers have done this. What recommendations would you give on how to actually go about determining what you should write and then actually writing it? How do you do that?
Yeah. So the basic, there's three parts to that formula. Okay. Which we teach in our boot camp. And I think at some point, maybe you can give away a link where we can give people who are listeners to your podcast a free ticket to our boot camp. We do over 100 of these all over the world. So, we'd be happy to have somebody come as our guest. But we have a section called Planet, and where we cover three main aspects. And the first is, you got to know what your primary objective is. What do you want the book to do for you? Do you want it to be a lead generator? Do you want it to raise your credibility? Do you want to differentiate yourself in the marketplace? So spend some time thinking about that. Then you got to know who your T-pop is, who your target population, who's your reader. Don't say everybody. You can't market to everybody. So pick a demographic. And the most important part is the third part, which is understanding the NDP, the needs, desires, and problems of your target market. So that's simple. You find 8 or 9 problems that your customers face, write 1 chapter on each one of those little things. That's 8 to 10 pages. That's per problem. That's not very difficult. And if you're not sure what to write about, just identify those problems and then go and interview 8 to 10 experts. If you interviewed 10 experts, you'll be considered the 11th. And that's exactly what Napoleon Hill did for the book Think and Grow Rich. He was a broke reporter when he wrote that book. So anybody listening, they've got no excuse. You do not have to be an expert. You do not have to be a PhD in English. You don't even have to be a good speller. You don't have to have achieved anything of note. You've just got to decide you're going to use a book as a marketing tool and as a market differentiator and as a way to build your brand and raise your platform in the marketplace. That's all people need to do. So pick 10, 8 or 9, 10 problems or challenges that your readers face, and write a book about those things. That's all you got to do. 8 to 10 pages per chapter, and you're done.
I want to go back and recap just a little bit for the listeners. I think this is a really important point because it is something that we run into all the time with business owners is they feel stuck or they're not sure. How can I get my leg up on the competition? How can I be more known? And what usually happens is they invest more into marketing dollars, or as you said, they just turn up the volume on their noise and trying to get more people coming their way. So with this, it's a mindset shift first, and understanding that this is a tool to not become to sell your book to profit off selling the book, but rather as a tool to help you generate people coming your way, to market who you are, to enhance your credibility. And then a way to do that is to sit down and to go through some of the problems that your customers are facing all the time, and to write 8 to 10 chapters based on that. And I would imagine, Gerry, a lot of people probably are getting already a lot of the questions that people have. Every day they're probably having the same questions in the sales cycle about their product or their service. So would you recommend maybe blogging or doing something to get started so you are writing some content and then later turning that into the book? Or what are some little hacks that people can do now?
So you can do all that. I mean, but the answer to the question is no, I wouldn't recommend that necessarily. Get the book first. Because that'll give you credibility for your blog. That'll get you credibility for other things. You can turn your book into blog posts and all the rest of that, or you could use your book. I mean, I don't want to cause people to wait. So now, if you're going to write a blog and you're going to be committed to that, that's how your book is going to get written. Then okay. As long as that's the number one focus. But I have people say they're going to do a radio show, and they're going to do internet radio, and they're going to do internet TV and YouTube channels and all this other stuff. Well, why fool around? Go for the thing that's the big deal. And the big deal in this game is getting your own book. That's the key right there.
Yeah, because of what it can do. So what we'll do in the show notes here, we'll put in a link as well for everyone so they can attend a boot camp for free. This is part of why Gerry is traveling the world all the time. Boot camps are literally all over the world, a number of them each month. So if we don't have one in your corner of the world right now, chances are it'll be there soon. So I'll put a link in the show notes so you can check that out. I'm curious, you've been doing this for a number of years, Gerry. What are some of the results, or what are some of the things that you've heard from your customers who have had their book published? What are some of the doors that have opened, or some of the stories they've shared with you because they wrote a book? Yeah,
what's interesting is, so I'll give you lots of examples, but one of the things that the big part of these examples is that these are ordinary entrepreneurs. And so I don't appeal to writer types typically. I am
types like a J.K. Rowling, somebody writing novels.
Yeah, not novels. These are how-to books, and not even a lot of the people who have done this have never even thought about writing a book before, because this is an entrepreneurial effort. This is a marketing tool. And so many of them have never really even given thought to doing this before they've listened to us. So I mean, I'll give you 100 examples. So Mary Beth Haynes, for instance, attended our seminar. She had lost a pet, and the pet died, and she didn't have any children, and it devastated her. So she wrote a book called How to Overcome Pet Loss. how to deal with the grieving process. And she wrote up a small little book about it. We showed her how to get other people to pay for all the costs to do this. So she was able to raise tens of thousands of dollars and funded the entire operation. Now she makes more money than she ever dreamed possible. This is a girl who came to our seminar, had never done anything in a sales or entrepreneurial environment before. She's been featured in Reader's Digest. She's been invited to speak all over the place. She's been on television. She's been on radio, and her income's gone through the roof, not to mention what's happened to her self-esteem. I mean, we've had there's another young guy in Toronto. Igor is a fitness trainer. When he came to us, he was absolutely broke. Just awarded last week the Markham Entrepreneur of the Year award.
Oh, cool.
He is a fitness trainer, and now he has 10 to 15 fitness trainers working for him. All he does now is speaking and media appearances, where he offers to go to companies and do a lunch and learn. He brings lunch and he speaks for 20 minutes on his book, which is called Stop Exercising, ironically enough.
That's my kind of trainer.
Yeah, and the wrong way. And so he does this 20-minute lunch and learn at companies in the Toronto area, invites people to come to his gym to get a personal assessment, and now he's got 10 to 15 trainers working for him. He's making more money than he's ever dreamed possible. We've had teachers who just retired get into Time magazine. Lily Cawthorne in Australia is a real estate agent, used her book called The Money Factory to explode her real estate business. I mean, I could just go on forever. Coaches who write books to get speaking engagements. I mean, there's just been so many. I mean, our company, Black Card Books, currently is publishing 712 authors, all in the entrepreneurial world. And we're talking about real estate agents, coaches, speakers, consultants, lawyers, people who management consultants. We got psychotherapists, a doctor, one dentist in India who's just killing it. Financial advisors, one financial advisor, Jean Andorel, wrote a small book called Protect Yourself. She came into this. We published her book in a few years ago. I gave it it was published in the month of June, and September 1st, I get an email from her. She said, "You're not going to believe what happened last month. I earned $80,000 last month. $80,000.
Oh, cool.
And she said, everybody knows you can't make that kind of money in the summer months. But she said, I did, and so that's just the power of a book as a marketing tool if you use it right. And so that's my recommendation, is that in this day and age, you want a tool that separates you from everybody else, that's a killer powerful tool. You write that book and use that book as a marketing tool, and I'm telling you, it'll just change everything.
Those are some pretty unique niches you mentioned as well, that what people are doing. It sounds like really you don't just have to be an entrepreneur or a small business owner. Of course, that helps, but professional services, this is really something for everyone, is what you're saying.
Well, I'm telling you, there's, if we agree with the concept that there is a problem in the mind of consumers, they don't like to get sold today. And if that's the truth, and I don't think very many people are going to dispute that. If that's the case, then the next logical thing to ask is, well, what's the answer? How do we overcome that?
Yeah.
Well, what is faster, better, more powerful than a book as a marketing tool? I can't think of anything that has that kind of power to change how people view you than if you write a book. Imagine going out on a sales call where before you leave, before you actually do the sales call, you send a copy of your book and you autograph it, and it says, "Hey, before I get there, make sure to read chapter 3 on my book, and you'll see why I'm so excited about what we offer. My mentor told me I should give my book to the 100 most positive people in this city. I hear you're one of them. Enjoy the book.
That's cool.
I mean, it just changes how people view you. So, yeah, that's what I want for people. And I want to get, if there's a message that I have, Scott, people today, it's that they can do this. You do not have to be a PhD in English. You do not have to have even achieved very much in life. You've just got to decide you're going to do it, get the training, and get on with the task of getting this book done. So that's my recommendation.
Yeah, I want to talk about that for 1 second, because I could see and sense a lot of people, they're hearing this. This all sounds great. They want to do a book, but man, a book, Gerry, that sounds like a big deal. It's a lot.
Well, it is.
What would you say to that person if somebody sat down with you now and said, I love it, I'm buying what you're selling me as far as what you're saying, I agree with it, but I just mentally, this is just too big for me. Like, how do you get somebody past that hurdle of really getting into action so they can start doing this?
Yeah, I think the thing is you got to get some tools. I mean, and that's that. I mean, you got to get trained on how to do it. I mean, it's not an easy thing, and you're right, it's a big step. That's why so few people do it. But the reality is there's training available, and that's why I'm excited to, for us offering your listeners an opportunity to come to our boot camp. And we've trained over 100,000 people on how to do this, and they can do it, but it's not easy. So, I mean, I think the thing is to invest a weekend, 2.5 day, our boot camp. Geez, if I could make your prospects go away, if I can make your prospects go away, if I can make your
please don't do that.
Yeah, if I can make a lot of your problems that you face in the marketplace go away, my goodness, I mean, why wouldn't you want to learn that? But the thing is, it's going to take some time, and people need to invest a couple of days, 2.5 days in our case, to learn specific strategies. And at the end of our boot camp, people know exactly what to do. At the end of it, Scott, it's an incredible boot camp, and the fact that we can, we've sold those tickets for all over the place for over $2,000 in different parts of the world, and now we're, because of this special offer, we're going to give people an opportunity to come to our boot camp at basically for free. There's an upgrade that they can purchase for a VIP for just a few bucks, but the reality is there's money to be made in book publishing, but you got to learn how to do it.
Sure. So for the listeners, if we want to check this out, go to the podcast website, mybpodcast.com. On there, we have a section that talks about Publish a Book and Grow Rich boot camps. We list what are coming up here. So check out the site. We'd love for you to be a part. Come out and see one of Gerry's boot camps about how to publish your own book. This is really a tremendous and amazing resource for you. Truly one of those game changers. I often get questions from people looking for the silver bullet or the one big thing that will make the biggest impact. And this is one of those. This is one of those things that if done properly and following the steps that Gerry's laid out, it's going to have an exponential growth with your business.
There's a lot of steps to this, Scott. And so what this does is our boot camps give people all of the steps. And I think at the end of the boot camp, people leave there knowing exactly what to do, how to do it, and we answer all their questions. And so the thing is, it's not easy. You got to invest the time. So we're happy to invite your listeners to come and see for themselves why so many people are going down this route. I'll tell you, it makes a lot of sense.
Sure. Well, Gerry, as we wrap it up here over the next couple of minutes, how can people connect with you if they want to connect with Gerry specifically and with your companies as well? How can they do that?
Well, I think the best thing is just to go to our website. Our main website is Publish a Book and Grow Rich. And all of our contact information there, all of our events, and we do events right around the world. And I know you've got listeners coming on like crazy from everywhere in the world. So, we do these seminars all over the world, and I encourage people to go to publishabookandgrowrich.com and come out to one of the seminars. I mean, we do over 100 of these all over the world, and they're fun and they're impactful, and people will go to the next level if they're willing to to come out and spend a couple of days and learn and plus we have a riot. I mean, we're a sort of family oriented type of company. And our seminars are very practical. They'll leave there with everything that they need in order to buy. And I just say this because I'm in the seminar business, and it bugs the heck out of me. Sort of one of my pet peeves is people go to seminars, they come to a free seminar, they expect to be sold all weekend, and all of the really good strategies you only get if you buy the upgrade seminar, the VIP super duper seminar. Well, that's not the case with us. It's not a big selling weekend. We do, of course, have something that we sell, but we do it on an optional session, and people don't need to come if they don't want it to that session. But we have no other seminar, so we give them everything they need that weekend. That's what blows people's minds about our seminar, Scott, is, and you know this, that people come and they can't believe that we give them all of the goods, everything that they need in that one weekend. People are going to leave there with everything that they need in order to get this book done for themselves. So that's my promise, and that's what we deliver every single time. So I think just send them to publish a book at growrich.com, and they get all the information that they need there about how to connect with us.
That sounds perfect. Gerry's wrapping up. Thanks for your time. I want to acknowledge you for a couple things as well. First, for just being an incredible thought leader, somebody who, and I know that word's thrown around a lot now, but you're someone who, as you said, you started with very humble beginnings. You learned from a mentor. You turned your life into the direction that you wanted to go, and you've created this incredible life. But you didn't stop there. And what I am so impressed with you is that you have then made it your life's work to teach other people how to get what they want in life, to help them to be successful. Your vehicle, you're doing that today, is through the Publish a Book and Grow Rich boot camps, and teach them how to write a book and why it's important to do that. But everything I see in what you're doing is about improving people's lives and improving their business, improving their relationships, improving their health, whatever it is they're doing. And thank you for doing that. We need more Gerry Roberts in the world who are sharing that message. So thank you for that. Thank you for building Black Card Books, and thank you for coming on the podcast today. I have truly enjoyed having you on, Gerry.
Well, it's been great doing that, and I'll encourage everybody who's listening, if this makes sense, let's build up this particular podcast. I mean, you're providing a lot of great things. I've seen the lineup of other guest authors you're having on board coming on. So if people got something out of today, one way to repay you and me is by sharing this podcast with other people. Let's make it a phenom on the internet. So thank you very much for your time, Scott. God bless you, man.
Great, Gerry. Thanks a lot. Take care. And there you have it, a very special interview with Gerry Robert. I love Gerry. Over the past number of months, gotten to know him a little bit better. He is truly an incredible human being. He has a heart of gold, a massive smile on his face all the time. He has nothing but the best intentions for other people, and has truly made it his life work to help other people, help them be more successful, and to get wherever it is they want to go in their life. So I'm honored he came on today and shared quite a bit with you. Everything we talked about, all the mindset, the captain and crew steps, multiplying your business, the Publish a Book and Grow Rich boot camps, all the information and links to that is included in the show notes on the website, mybpodcast.com/001. So go ahead and check that out. But then also, if you are interested in attending Publish a Book and Grow Rich boot camp on the website as well, click on the section talking about those boot camps. We'd love to have you out as a guest. So that's all we have for you today. Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us. Now go out and multiply your business. Thanks again.